Okay, so let's talk about logistics for a second. And I'm not talking about your average move with some boxes and bubble wrap. No. Imagine your job is to move something infinitely more important, the actual, literal home of a god. And you got to do it on foot across a desert. This is way more than just a move. It's a sacred, high-stakes operation. So today, we're going to deconstruct one of the most incredible logistical plans you've ever heard of.
I mean, that's the central question, isn't it? How in the world do you transport the very heart of your culture, the holiest objects you possess, through miles and miles of harsh wilderness? This is not just about getting from point A to point B. It's a ritual on the move, and it demands absolute precision, a deep sense of reverence, and a team of specialists that are, well, unlike any other.
And the answer to this massive challenge lies with one group of people, the Levites. Honestly, the best way to think of them is as the ultimate roadie crew for a mobile temple. Every single time the entire nation of Israel had to pack up and go, this was the crew responsible for the teardown, the transport, and the setup of their sacred tabernacle. And we're not talking about a few guys here. This was a massive operation, broken down into hyper-specialized teams. So let's meet the first division, the Kohathites. Now, these weren't your general heavy lifters or the guys handling ropes and tarps. No. Their job was something far more focused, way more high stakes, and it came with a weight of responsibility that is just almost unimaginable. Their one and only mission was to carry the very soul of the sanctuary. We're talking the Ark of the Covenant, the golden lampstand, the altars. But, and this is a really critical point, they were forbidden from packing any of it themselves. A super strict, non-negotiable protocol had to be followed to the letter before they could even get near their cargo. And this protocol is just incredible. Look at the layers of separation here. First, only the high priests, that's Aaron and his sons, could even go into the holy space. They'd perform this careful, ritualistic wrapping of each object using very specific cloths and leathers. It was only after every single item was completely covered, totally hidden from view, that the Kohathites were finally called in to do their one job, to lift and to carry. And if you're wondering just how high the stakes were, well, this quote makes it chillingly clear. This wasn't a friendly suggestion, it was a fatal warning. The rule was absolute. Do not touch, don't even glimpse the holy things themselves, or you will die. That just hammers home the incredible sacredness of what they were carrying and the razor-thin margin for error they were working with. All right, so the Sacred Heart of the Tabernacle is packed up and ready to go. What about everything else? Well, that brings us to the next team in the operation, the Gershonites. Their job was to handle everything that made up the enclosure, basically the skin and all the coverings of the entire mobile sanctuary. So you can see here, the Gershonites were in charge of all the textiles. And while that might not sound as intense as carrying the ark, just try to imagine the sheer volume and weight of all this stuff. We're talking about enormous, heavy curtains for the sanctuary itself, multiple layers of coverings for the roof, the entire perimeter fence for the courtyard, not to mention all the ropes and hardware that went with it. This was a massive, essential job. And that leaves the third and final division, the Merarites. Now these guys, these were the true heavy lifters of the whole operation. So if you think about it, if the Kohathites carried the heart and the Gershonites carried the skin, then the Merarites were tasked with hauling the entire skeleton. I mean, just look at this list of what they had to carry. We're talking solid wood frames, heavy crossbars, all the posts, and their weighty metal bases for both the sanctuary and the courtyard. This was the pure, back-breaking labor of moving the foundational structure of a very large building. Okay, and this table just brings it all together beautifully. It's like the perfect organizational chart. You can see the three clans, their very distinct cargo, and a clear line of supervision. What's so interesting is that chain of command. Eleazar, one of Aaron's sons, is in charge of the most holy items, while his brother Ithamar manages the other two divisions. It's an absolute masterclass in organizational design and accountability. Now, an operation this meticulously planned needs some serious manpower. And what's incredible is that the source text actually gives us the exact numbers from a census. Specifically, a census of men fit for this very duty, men in their prime between the ages of 30 and 50. So let's break down the workforce. For the Kohathites, the guardians of that sacred cargo, the number was 2,750 men. That's a huge team for what was by far the most delicate part of the job. Next, for the Gershonites, the ones handling all those curtains and coverings, you had 2,630 men, another massive division, all dedicated to the tabernacle's skin. And finally, the Merarites, the crew responsible for moving that heavy framework, a whopping 3,200 men, the largest team of them all. And this chart just lays it out so clearly. You can see the manpower distribution at a single glance. And it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? The Merarites, who had the heaviest, most awkward load, the entire framework, they also had the biggest team. It's a brilliant, practical example of putting your resources exactly where they're needed most. So what's the grand total? You add them all together, and you get this number, 8,580. I mean, just think about that for a second. Nearly 9,000 men, all in their prime, whose entire job in the community was this one single task, moving the tabernacle. The sheer scale of this specialized workforce is it's mind-blowing. And this line from the text really sums up the whole philosophy of the operation. It all came from a divine command, and every single man was assigned his specific job and his specific load to carry. There was no confusion, no one standing around wondering what to do. It was a system built on perfect order and total individual accountability. Which, of course, leaves us with a final, really powerful question. When a society pours this much detail, this much manpower, and this level of life-or-death precision into a logistical problem, what does it really tell you? It shows you what they value above everything else. This was never just about moving a tent. All of this complex logistics, it was a physical expression of their core belief that the presence of their God was the absolute immovable center of their universe, even when it was on the move.